and I really feel like I've found a place that like fosters a really good environment for me to like grow closer to God. You would you baptize me with my pastor?
Okay, so I can help baptize you? Is he okay with that? Yes.
Gwendlyn Brown was never just another face in the background of the Sister Wives series. While the cameras focused on Cody's dramatic speeches, shifting alliances, and picture-perfect family scenes, Gwen was quietly absorbing everything behind the curtain. She wasn't just a cast member. She was a daughter. A child growing up inside a fractured system dressed up as a loving, spiritual home. And unlike many others, she saw through it early. As a queer, socially conscious, and outspoken young woman, Gwendlyn never fully fit into the mold Cody wanted for his children. She questioned authority. She challenged traditions. She noticed the favoritism. She felt the isolation. And as she grew older, she didn't just carry those experiences with her, she started documenting them. Her YouTube channel became a space where she dissected old episodes, episode by episode, calling out hypocrisy and exposing how the reality of their lives often looked nothing like the polished version TLC presented. And that voice, sharp, thoughtful, raw, caught people's attention. Fans started listening. More importantly, publishers started listening. When the offer came, it wasn't small. A major New York publishing house saw what Gwendlyn had to say, and they understood how important it was. This wasn't about gossip. It wasn't about drama. It was about truth. Her truth. And so came the deal, a 7-figure contract to write the story that Cody never wanted told, a book titled Shadow of the Patriarch. It was in that moment that everything changed. The second Kody and Robyn caught wind of the book, they panicked. This wasn't just a rebellious daughter posting on social media anymore. This was a legally vetted, publicly distributed account of the years they worked so hard to control. They couldn't edit it. They couldn't spin it. They couldn't delete it later. And Gwen wasn't holding back. From what we know, the book covers the moments that shaped her. Watching resources shift the moment Robyn entered the family, feeling the emotional distance when her father started showing favoritism, and seeing her mother Christine struggle quietly while Cody redirected all attention and affection toward one household. But what makes this story hit even harder is Gwen's honesty. She's not out to be cruel. She's out to be real. And that's what scares Kody and Robyn the most. Because the truth, spoken calmly and clearly by someone who lived it, is far more dangerous than any camera or confession scene ever could be. This isn't just a book, it's a spotlight. And it's shining straight into the places they've worked so hard to keep in the dark. From the outside looking in, Sister Wives often painted a picture of unity. 4 households, one big family, everyone doing their best. But Gwendlyn's truth tells a very different story, one that the cameras never dared to show. She saw things not through a director's lens, but through the eyes of a daughter. And what she saw was favoritism, blatant, painful, and impossible to ignore. She remembers the shift clearly. The moment Robyn entered the family, everything changed. Suddenly, there were new clothes, shiny furniture, expensive toys, and not for everyone, only for Robyn's kids. While Christine's children, including Gwen herself, wore hand-me-downs and watched their mom stretch every dollar, Robyn's household seemed to glow with comfort and privilege. Gwendlyn talks about how even as a young girl the message was clear. Some children mattered more. And it wasn't just about things you could buy, it was about attention, about affection, about presence. Cody's time, once divided, if unevenly, became almost entirely absorbed by one household. The rest of the kids, his other kids, felt like afterthoughts. Gwen remembers the silence more than the shouting, the way he'd walk into a room and barely look at them. The missed birthdays, the skipped conversations, that slow, painful realization that their father had emotionally checked out. What's even harder to swallow is how all of this was masked by the show. On television, Cody was quirky, overworked, trying his best. But Gwen knew the truth, and she saw how producers softened the narrative, cutting scenes, skipping over arguments, presenting him as well-meaning instead of dismissive. What viewers saw was carefully curated. What Gwen lived through was not. She writes about the tension you never saw. The icy stares, the quiet breakdowns when the cameras stopped rolling, the way her mother would hold it together on screen, only to cry in private afterward, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the pressure to keep up appearances for the sake of the show. There were fights, screaming matches, whole weeks of silence, but you'd never know it from watching. Because to TLC, conflict was good for ratings, but only the kind that could be cleaned up with a hug and a family prayer. The real pain, that was too messy, too honest, too damaging to Cody's carefully crafted image. And that's the story Gwen is finally telling. Not the story of a perfect plural family, but the reality of a group of women and children forced to orbit around a man who chose favorites and ignored the rest. A man who used faith as a shield and television as a stage, while his kids quietly disappeared from his life, emotionally, and eventually, physically. For Gwen, this isn't about revenge. It's about finally speaking for the children who were told to smile and stay quiet. And for the first time, someone's listening. The moment news of Gwendlyn's book deal broke, Kody and Robyn didn't waste a second. Panic doesn't even begin to describe it. They went straight into defense mode, not with a phone call, not with a conversation, but with lawyers. High-powered, aggressive, expensive lawyers. And what arrived at Gwen's door was a cease and desist letter, pages of legal threats wrapped in cold, professional language. It accused her of defamation, of violating NDAs, of breaching her childhood participation agreement with TLC. But the message was loud and clear. Stay silent, or we'll bury you in court. This wasn't just about stopping a book. It was about control. Kody Brown, the same man who preached about unity and fatherhood on national TV, was now threatening his own daughter to protect the very image she was trying to dismantle. He wasn't using compassion. He wasn't offering a heartfelt plea. He was using the full force of his wealth and influence to intimidate her. It was power against principle. And yet, Gwen didn't flinch. She could have walked away. She could have stayed quiet and taken the safer path. But instead, she stood her ground. With her publisher behind her, she made it clear this isn't defamation. This is her life, her experiences, her truth. And in America, truth is protected. Her legal team responded just as forcefully. They reminded Cody's lawyers that NDAs signed by minors often don't hold up in court. They pointed to the First Amendment, and they stood by their author, refusing to change a word. But the impact of this legal battle didn't stop at the courtroom door. It rippled through the entire family. Gwen's siblings were caught in the crossfire, some receiving emotional messages from Robyn filled with guilt and fear. Robyn wasn't reaching out to Gwen directly. She was texting the others, especially the younger ones, trying to turn them against their sister. "She's tearing this family apart," she reportedly said. "Think about how this will hurt Solomon and Ariella." Meanwhile, Cody was calling his older kids, demanding they pick a side. Were they loyal to their father, or would they stand with Gwen? It was manipulation in its purest form, forcing his children to choose between love and truth, between silence and support. But what Cody didn't expect was how united his kids would become. For many of them, this wasn't just Gwen's fight. It was theirs too. They had lived the same story. They had seen the same favoritism, felt the same absence, watched their mothers struggle. And now someone was finally saying it out loud. Gwendlyn's bravery wasn't just in writing the book. It was in refusing to back down when the man who should have protected her became the one trying to silence her. She's not just telling her story. She's defending the right of every child who's been told their truth is inconvenient. And she's doing it in the face of everything Cody once used to keep control. While the lawyers handled the paperwork, Robyn took a different route, emotional manipulation. But she didn't reach out to Gwendlyn directly. Instead, she began texting the other kids, especially the younger ones, flooding them with emotional pleas and subtle guilt trips. Her messages weren't just sad, they were strategic. Things like, how could she do this to the family? And, doesn't she care what this will do to Solomon and Ariella? It was classic deflection. Robyn wasn't focused on truth, she was focused on control, and the pressure didn't stop there. Cody picked up the phone and started calling his older kids, not to listen or ask questions, but to demand loyalty. He asked them outright, "Are you with me or with her?" As if this were a war, as if a child speaking her truth somehow made her the enemy. He didn't seem to realize that the more he pushed, the more he revealed the very behavior Gwen had written about. But this time, his tactics didn't work. Because the kids, especially the older ones, weren't falling for it. They've seen this pattern before. They've lived through the favoritism, the manipulation, the way emotions were used like currency to control the family dynamic. And they're done staying quiet. Peyton, Gwen's outspoken brother, made it clear. He's 100% behind her. No hesitation. No middle ground. McKelty, too, has stood publicly in support, using her own platform to defend Gwen's right to share her experiences. And the legacy of their late brother Garrison looms large in this moment. Garrison and Gabe were two of the most emotionally affected by Cody's behavior over the years, and they never stayed silent about it. Now, even after Garrison's passing, Gabe is standing up with strength, making sure his brother's memory is part of this reckoning. The power of this moment isn't just in the book, it's in what it's triggered. For the first time, the children of the Brown family are not being treated like silent background characters. They're speaking up, they're standing together, and they're demanding to be heard. This isn't just a family feud, it's a generational uprising, a public rejection of the emotional games that have kept them divided and quiet for too long. Gwen lit the match, but her siblings are the ones carrying the flame forward. And what's burning now isn't just Cody's image, it's the illusion that he ever had control. While Gwendlyn's bold truth-telling shook the foundation of the Brown family, another surprise was quietly building in the background, one that hit Kody and Robyn in a completely different way. After years of waiting, of hoping, and of being publicly humiliated, Meri Brown said yes to someone who wasn't Cody. The first wife, the one who was pushed to the side, forgotten, and emotionally abandoned, is now engaged. And not just to anyone, but to a man who is everything Cody never was. His name is John. He's grounded, kind, mature, and totally removed from the chaos of reality television. He didn't chase fame. He wasn't looking to step into a spotlight. He met Meri by chance, while staying at her bed and breakfast during a business trip. Their connection wasn't instant sparks or made-for-TV romance. It was slow, genuine, and built on respect. He saw her not as Cody's ex or a character on a TLC show, but as a strong, capable woman with a life of her own. For Meri, this wasn't just love. It was liberation. A break from the cycle of waiting for someone who never chose her. A decision to walk away from years of silence and finally reclaim her voice, her future, and her happiness. This engagement isn't just a relationship, it's a message. One that says, I am no longer defined by who didn't love me. And it hit Cody hard. Sources close to the family say his reaction was less sadness and more outrage. He framed it as betrayal, not to him as a man, but to the spiritual covenant he once used to keep Meri tethered to him. Robyn's response. Carefully measured on the outside, she'll likely offer a tearful congratulations on camera. But behind the scenes, she's rattled. Because Meri's independence proves something Robyn hoped to avoid, that life after Cody isn't just possible, it's better. Meri's story is the emotional mirror of Gwendlyn's. One represents the past, the first wife finally stepping out of the shadow of a toxic marriage. The other represents the future, a daughter refusing to let her truth be silenced. And together, they form a powerful pattern. The women and children of the Brown family are no longer playing roles written for them by Cody's ego or TLC's cameras. Cody is watching everything he once controlled slip away. And while he clings to old dynamics, Meri is planning a wedding. Gwen is preparing to launch her book. The kids are growing stronger. The silence is over. And in that silence, something new is being born. Freedom. For more than a decade, Kody Brown carefully controlled the image of his family. On camera, in confessionals, through contracts and edited scenes. He shaped the narrative to protect himself, to elevate his version of truth, and to silence anything that didn't fit. But the thing about truth is, it doesn't stay buried forever. And now the voices he worked hardest to quiet are the ones speaking the loudest. Gwendlyn's book isn't just a memoir, it's a declaration, a refusal to carry the weight of silence any longer. Her words echo far beyond the pages. They speak for every child who ever sat quietly at a dinner table while one parent was praised and the other ignored. For every sibling who watched resources and attention pour into one corner of the house while the rest went without. And for every young person who felt unseen because their identity made others uncomfortable. Gwendlyn is writing her story, but in doing so, she's giving others permission to find their own voices too. And then there's Meri. That ring on her finger means more than a new relationship. It means closure. It means healing. It's proof that years of waiting and hoping for someone else to change were finally traded for the courage to walk away. Meri's engagement is her final, graceful exit from the pain that defined so much of her story. It's her victory. Not loud or flashy, but quietly powerful. Thank you for being here with me. I'm Sarah, and this is TLC Sister Wives Exposed. Please subscribe my channel and share my video and like.